Good morning, all and all. On behalf of the Southern India Chamber of Commerce and Industry and AIDAT, I welcome all the speakers and the participants to today's webinar on the roadmap to self-reliance in the aerospace and defense sector through the Technology Development Fund with the DRDO. To begin with, before we go into the session, I request all the participants to kindly keep your mics muted so that it will not distract the session. And also, if you have any questions in between, kindly request you to post it in the chat box so that it can be, your questions will be answered during the question and answer session. To begin with, I request Mr. A.R. Arun, President SICKI, Honorary Consul of the Czech Republic in Chennai and Puducherry, Chairman of Valingro, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, William. Dr. Nidhi Bansa, Director, Technology Development Fund, DRDO. My dear colleague, Dr. Mailsami Annadure, Chair of SICKI's Aerospace and Defense Committee and Vice President of the Tamil Nadu State Council for Science and Technology. Mr. Channabasappa Shirkoli, Business Head of Aerospace at LMW. He, along with Mr. Franklin, who have so kindly joined us today from ADAT. SICKI members, ladies and gentlemen, Vanakkam. Wishing you all a very good morning. On behalf of SICKI, we would like to extend a warm welcome to each of you. We certainly appreciate your joining us this morning. Before I continue with my address, let me acknowledge that while we were supposed to have today's meeting yesterday itself, the rescheduling had to be done due to factors completely outside of SICKI's control. We certainly appreciate each of you joining us back again today, and we will certainly do everything that we can to make today's event well worth your time. When we look at DRDO and TDF, SICKI welcomes today's program with the Defense Research and Development Organization. This is especially considering that research and development is the most important pillar of our country's indigenization. SICKI is certainly glad to be joining hands again to propel this important arena via this morning's interaction. As most of you would be aware, the Ministry of Defense had recently announced 38 problem statements, each with an allocation of 10 crore rupees. This was for the IDEX indigenization scheme. IDEX, for your reference, is an abbreviation for Innovations and Defense Excellence. The IDEX initiative was launched by Prime Minister Modi in April 2018 with the aim of fostering innovation and technology development within defense and aerospace. In parallel with IDEX, the DRDO has launched its Technology Development Fund to fund domestic industry meet the requirements of our three armed services. The TDF encourages participation of public-private industries, especially MSMEs, so as to create a sustainable ecosystem. The idea is to enhance cutting-edge technology for defense applications by inculcating the research and development culture within our industry. At this juncture, SICKI would like to take this opportunity to make two suggestions to the DRDO in order to make the TDF as attractive as possible for domestic industry to blossom. Number one, it will be very useful to have an industry-friendly facilitating desk that can share what's available, whether in terms of business areas to get into or the funds that might be available to companies. In the recent past, we have recommended our members to reach out, but they have not been able to get the required info and have hence ended up dropping the idea. Number two, typically, we find stringent banking policies that slow down the much needed progress within our country. These policies have espoused collateral security or unviable restrictions, citing RBI policies. And they also make demands that cannot be fulfilled, for instance, the dreaded personal guarantees. Rather than having the usual unviable restrictions, it is important to consider how to enable this important industry for the self-reliance of aerospace and defense within India, the economy at large, and of course, job growth within our country. Not having solutions for these two important points may make the effort counterproductive. SICKI would be glad to assist the TDF and DRDO to support this effort wherever we can. On the other hand, SICKI would like to encourage industry to take up the TDF's wonderful opportunity and make India truly self-reliant. This would mean that our defense and aerospace sector has the necessary design, development, and production capabilities. Towards making this a reality, all stakeholders certainly need to come together, and SICKI is most willing to do whatever is necessary in order to be able to propel this forward. I would now like to share a few words about SICKI for some of you who might not have kept in track of what we've been doing over the recent few months. Before that, I would like to tell those of you who are not completely aware of us that we have just completed 111 years of service to the southern region of our nation. SICKI is one of the oldest and prestigious institutions of its kind in India, and we are a founder member of FICCI in New Delhi. What has made us particularly vibrant in the recent months is that we have over 25 sectoral committees representing the broad spectrum of industry, whether it might be agriculture, manufacturing, or services. Each of our committees are chaired and co-chaired by industry experts and well supported by fellow industry experts on the committee. Importantly, each of our committees are extremely active, which in turn has made us a vibrant chamber. In addition, SICKI maintains a very good connect with central and state governments, along with all foreign missions. This has enabled us to be the go-to chamber for all industry propositions. SICKI is committed to the establishment of a defense manufacturing cluster within Tamil Nadu. We strongly feel that industry in this region should not miss the unique opportunity to manufacture for and supply to the world's most profitable defense market. Chennai, which already possesses inherent strengths in automobile manufacturing, this shift to defense manufacturing would be the next logical step. SICKI's aerospace and defense foray has been meaningful and effective, engaging all stakeholders, especially the MSMEs. We have hosted sessions with the Indian Navy, the Indian Air Force, DRDO, and other agencies all in the recent past. We have also hosted national sessions and B2B interactions with countries like the Czech Republic, Romania, and Poland. More importantly, along with these successful events, SICKI has also released several knowledge reports on the aerospace and defense sector. These reports can be found accessible on our website, sicki.in. Alternatively, you could also share with us your contact info, and we'll be glad to share this details with you. SICKI has had a fruitful partnership with ADAT. We are extremely glad that we are working together, and we hope that we'll be able to continue this partnership month on month going forward. I would like to share with you some of the upcoming events within this space that SICKI is planning to conduct. We are planning to work along with the DRDO, concentrating on future warfare. This is planned for either the 17th or 18th of May. We are also going to be working with ADAT towards a business opportunity with applied materials on the 26th or 27th of May. We are also focusing on the Latin America market. There is a good amount of our defense production that is sold into this market. We plan to host a conference within Chennai targeting aerospace and defense, and this is going to be scheduled sometime later this year. We are certainly growing our focus in this sector through our Aerospace and Defense Expert Committee. We are extremely glad that Dr. Malsamy Annadurai is heading this effort, and he is well supported by Mr. Rangarajan, CEO of Data Patterns, who is the co-chair of this committee. And this, incidentally, is one of the most staffed and most active committees within SICKI. In closing, we take this opportunity to thank Dr. Nidhi Bansal, Director TDF DRDO, for the very good support and help in putting this event together. With these few words, I would like to welcome each one of you once again and wish you all a fruitful and intellectually enriching learning experience today. Thank you and wishing you safe times ahead. Nandri, Vanakkam.
Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Mailsamy Annadurai, Chair SICKI Aerospace Defense Committee, Vice President of Tamil Nadu State Council for Science and Technology, to deliver the opening. Over to you.
Thank you, William. Mr. Arun, President SICKI, Srimati Nidhi Bansal, fellow members of the SICKI Aerospace Committee, and today's delegates who are attending for this webinar. Mr. Arun has elaborately indicated the SICKI, how importantly taking this particular front. I am seeing an echo. William, can you see anything? Yeah.
We can hear you clearly, Dr.
Okay,
Bhaskar.
fine. Yeah. Now, having heard about a lot of initiatives being taken, and it's what's going to be upcoming in Siki, which takes a good amount of my effort, which we are talking. I was planning to talk in this address. Now, I would like to emphasize today. Yes, I'm sitting in a Siki. One side, what country expects, and what other side expected from industry, and what industry also expects. Yes, you all know self-reliance or Atmanirbhar is both a human as well as a national aspiration, which most associate with the self-esteem and the respect, but which has a much larger connotation when it comes to the defense of the nation, especially for a country like India. India, despite seeking to attain this ambitious goal for decades, has still been struggling to shed the tag of being the world's largest importer of arms from 1990 till maybe around 2090. And even as per the data published on 15th March of 2021, still retains the inglorious distinction of being the second largest importer of arms globally. Apart from shifting the goalpost periodically, the only other thing India has shifted is its dependence policy from purely look east, that is USSR, Russia, to look west, USA and Europe, and now to a more diversified group of countries like Israel, South Korea. It's not that we do not have the money to attain what we are looking for India's Atmanirbhar in defense improve. Yes, we are the largest military spenders in the world today, after the United States and China. However, it's time that we stop thinking, why haven't we fared better? Focus on answering question how we can fare better. One of the major reasons why India is still far away from Atmanirbhar Bharat is, yes, I feel, is the mismatch between the arms we produce or try to produce and the arms we buy. Government is trying to bridge this anomaly and create an improved environment for us as a nation to take a quantum leap into a high technology defense production. As Mr. Arun has already indicated, the government has taken several consolidated policy initiatives like reviewing and promulgating a new defense acquisition policy, the defense acquisition procedure, with the bans of a good number of items from import, giving priority to buy Indian, and incentive technology acquisition through defense offsets, strategic partnership, design and development, and basically the DRDO looking some more impetuous things to hand over many things to the private industry. And as already told, innovation for defense excellence, IDEX, technology development fund, what we are going to talk today. So are promoting MSMEs and startups to become Buy Indian IDDM, that means indigenously designed, developed, and manufactured vendors. The consolidated FDI policy has also been tweaked to safeguard the hostile takeovers and covered financing of anti-national activities by making it mandatory for any country with a land border with India to obtain the government approval for all the limit of FDI in defense for 74%. Similarly, the MOD, the Ministry of Defense, has formulated a draft defense production and export promotion policy 2020. The key objective of which also promote the development of strong defense industry leading to self-reliance, setting its sight on the need to reduce the current high import dependency. The draft policy identifies number of weapon systems platforms, including fighters, helicopters, warships, missile systems, ammunition and explosive, land systems, and electronics, whose development and manufacture would commence the latest by 2025. Other objectives include increase in domestic arms sales to 1,70,000 crore. That means $26 billion by 2025, with around 1/5 of its 35,000 crore, that is $5 billion, coming through exports. The policy also intends to make India a global leader in cyberspace and AI technologies. I think this really we can do it there, as we are doing in the software industry reasonably well. The coordinated and consolidated review of several defense-related policies by Government of India based on the evidence of experiences of previous initiatives, and as well as Arun has indicated two of the points, probably that also will be taken care. And the wide circulation of what are all the Government of India and MOD doing, and the stakeholders' reviews has been a landmark achievement which must be lauded. Just as a fledgling startup needs a business incubator and accelerator, the Indian defense industrial base needs a conducive defense and aerospace ecosystem to attain the vision of making the India amongst the leading countries of the world in defense. The creation of a defense and aerospace ecosystem corridor costs billions of dollars and decades to mature, but stands out as for the generations to come to step into the history. The decision to build the defense and aerospace corridor in the southern states, Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, presents the most promising value proposition in terms of basic infrastructure, supporting industry, talent pool, institutions, and the existing industries, as well as science and technology institutions, major labs like DRDO, ISRO, VIRC. A multitude of 3,000 plus SMEs developed by DRDO, ISRO, VIRC, TPSUs, presence of global majors, etc. It is a time that the country leverage this ecosystem effectively. At present, the defense aerospace corridor of Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh have extended incentives and concessions through the plethora of subsidies, including an offset multiplier of X2 for Indian industries established in the corridors. Even though we are taking several steps to move closer to our goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense, the singular intent should be acquisition of high technology. I believe the technology development is one such route which we are talking today for Indian ship system to answer quickly for all import substitutions and evolve our own innovative means of hybrid warfare, focusing on space, cyber, UAVs, directed energy weapons, and newer methods of combat to stay abreast in the field of defense manufacturing as a force of relevance in the years to come. There are also other schemes, as Arun has told, IDUX and DARE. I'm not elaborating here. Probably we'll take it up in some of the upcoming events through SICI. Although criticized by some quarters for being overly ambitious and lacking commensurate institutional and pragmatic financial support, these policy initiatives, if implemented in sync with the Government of India's envisaged integrated capability development plan, will push India closer towards its twin goals of achieving Atmanirbhar Bharat and exports in defense and becoming a strong national power. In terms of process optimization and encouraging the required innovative initiatives, I understand a lot of initiatives have been taken. We will hear more from Director DDF after this session. As I see from SICI, what the defense industry really needs is assured orders for them to invest in the required infrastructure and R&D. But what I also see is the gap of what is expected from the Indian industry by the Government of India and what Indian defense industries can offer as on today. We have the capability, but the need is the will to mobilize our minds and vast pool of national talent and resources in order to achieve the self-reliance in defense in an accelerated time frame. Towards this, as Mr. Arun has already indicated, under his presidency and the Secretary, Solomon and his team, SICI is trying to bring the existing and potential stakeholders to meet in the government forums and organizations like MOD, DRDO, TITCO, BEML, etc., to take the initiatives forward. We, as a Committee for Aerospace and Defense in SICI, are extending a part of our time and energy to augment these efforts. In summary, SICI is committed even beyond this webinar to extend the help to the members as Team Defeat, as Arun has already indicated. There are various initiatives that are progressing at various levels. You may hear them in due course. Stay tuned to SICI for updates. To sum it up, for Indian defense industry, the road ahead is long, but the journey promises to be exciting. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable thoughts. Now I request Srimati Niti Bansal, Director TDF, DRDO, to deliver a keynote address. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. William. Good morning, Mr. Arun, Dr. Anna Durai, and fellow industry champions. On behalf of DRDO, a very good morning to all of you. TDF, or Technology Development Fund scheme of DRDO, is actually a scheme of Ministry of Defense under the Atmanirbhar Abhiyan of, or Make in India Abhiyan of Government of India. And DRDO is executing it. This scheme was approved by the Honorable RM, then Mr. Manohar Parrikar, in 2016, and we gave out the first projects in 2018. January 2018, there were a cluster of 4 projects which were given during the Defense Expo, which was held at Chennai at that time. So we have associations, TDF has associations with Chennai or with Tamil Nadu right from day one, I must say. How we execute these projects, DRDO execute these projects, is that we get the requirements from the users. The user could be the tri-services, it could be also ADA, who's working on the fighter aircraft. It could also be the DPSUs, be it HAL, be it BEL, be it BDL, and it could also be DRDO itself. So any component of Ministry of Defense can give us a requirement. We also take requirements from the industry, which is, we call it suo moto or unsolicited requirement. But there is a little caveat in that whatever the proposal that we receive from the industries, we have to share it with our users. We send it out to different user departments and ask that if it is developed, whether they will find any use or any application of this. Only once it is vetted by any one of the user and he or she, the department promises to handhold it, only we will be able to take it up. Why it is required, like the speakers before me have brought it out, that it is important that whatever is being developed by the industry should find a place in the military technology. So if the requirements are only suo moto and none of the users shows any interest in that, even if it is getting developed, and it doesn't find any space in any place in any of the technology or any of the systems or subsystems that is being used by the military today, the business viability for the industry will not be felt. So that is why it is important to bring the user on board from day one. Once we have the requirements from the user or vetted from the user, then we take it up in our process and we do a feasibility of that requirement, whether it fits into the bill of the Technology Development Fund. Like any scheme, my scheme or technology development scheme also has its own boundaries. The boundary conditions are that the development cost of that project should not be more than 10 crore, and it should not be, because we want to keep the technology that is developed relevant to the environment, relevant to the systems being used, we want the turnaround time of that technology to be 2 years. Because even if we bring in a solution a little later, say after 5 years or 6 years, in the dynamic scenario of today, where every day the new technology is coming, it's going to be losing its relevance. That is why it is important that the turnaround time of the technologies which are being pursued under Technology Development Fund is 2 years. We also do a feasibility with all our industry partners. In fact, it is an open forum where we put our requirements on our website for a period of not less than 15 days. And we welcome all suggestions from any industry partner who may try to show any interest in that. And we collate all that inputs that we receive. Through that, we are also trying to see whether our industry is ready to do that technology. Like Dr. Anna Durai brought out, that there is a gap in what government of India is wanting and what the industry perhaps is able to give today. So through this feasibility, we also try to understand whether the industry is till, as on date, is capable of taking it up. Once we have all the box ticked, the box of the cost, the development time, the capability of the industry, and definitely the requirement from the user, then we process these requirements for getting the AON, that is acceptance of necessity. Once the acceptance of necessity is granted by different committees which are there, which is integrated committees where you have the finance, you have the user, you have the qualifying agency, you even have the defense production on the committees, you even you have a ministry of MSMEs, you have industry associations. Those committees together deliberate on these requirements, and then they give us a go ahead, give us an AON for taking up these requirements. Once the AON is granted, then we go ahead and make a committee or a specific group, we call it PMMG, Project Mentoring and Monitoring Group, where we bring in the domain experts specific to the technology that is required to be pursued. If you ask me, the USP of TDF scheme as regards the other scheme is that each technology is given mentoring and monitoring by a group of people, which is again an integrated team where the user is present who's giving you the operational and functional requirements, where you have the qualifying agency, where you also have the production agency at times, the integrated agency at times. You have Semilac on board for aerospace and things like that. And together they monitor and mentor that industry. Because we understand that through this scheme, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring in the non-traditional industry into the defense industry base of the country. And we in DRDO have the understanding that the barriers which are required to get into the defense ecosystem are little tall, because we have stringent requirements of the testing. The specifications are also very peculiar, I should say, at times, the kind of testing that is required. So we are those non-traditional industry base, which have still today have not worked for defense or aerospace requirements. We want to give this support, be it the support of the domain experts, be it the support of the money, be it the support of the testing facilities, or bringing in the qualifying and the user on board to give the inputs for the development of technology, all on one platform. And then together we execute the whole project. I talked about the funding of 10 crore. The lion's share of that 10 crore, up to 9 crore or 90% of the project funding is given by DRDO. 10% of the funding is expected from the industry, and that funding is expected, one, because if it is 100% grant, the ownership from the industry doesn't come. We are already, maybe because of the COVID situation or something, we are already into a place where we are looking at PDC extensions in many of our projects. So as you would appreciate that any new scheme, this scheme is also under observation and this is also evolving. If the government doesn't feel that there is a return of investment in what they are trying to give to the industry, the confidence in the scheme will not come. We are not asking for any performance bank guarantee from any of our industry partners. Only if the industry is seeking some advance is when we are asking for a bank guarantee. If it is reimbursement mode, there is no bank guarantee required from any of the industry partners that we are working with. So I would like to bring in that clarity that bank guarantee is only sought if there is an advance requirement by the industry. And you will all appreciate or understand that the government money has to be given as advance is only possible if you have a bank guarantee to that extent. At least that is what my policy says. In the reimbursement mode, you give us the utilization certificate, you give us the statement of expenditure, and we give you that amount. Yes, there is maybe some time, some processing that is required because the money is released from the CTA, and there are some papers which are required. The CA certificate, the third party CA certificate is required, and the accounts which are there, like any other government scheme, are auditable. And that is the reason that we request our development agency to keep the account separate from other accounts. And it should be a kind of a no-lien account so that the money which is put in the account for the use of the technology development should not be used by any other account. And this is a guideline that we need to follow. For the other than these, there are no financial as such burdens on the industry other than the 10% kind of a participation in uh, the development project development, and keeping the account book separate so that if there is an audit, that audit will be able to go through the books of account of the industry to see if the money is being spent rightly on the project development or if there has been any wrongdoings. So this is about the way that we do it. And like I said, that the caveat, there is another condition for giving the money, and that is that the industry should be owned by a resident Indian, at least 51%. This is a grant in aid scheme, so we will not be able to give the money to a industry which is held by foreign nationals. So that is why it is important that the industry, the major shareholding of the industry is with resident Indians. So when we get the AON, we, like I said, we go ahead, constitute the committee, the specific committee for this, and then we go to our website and we go in for an expression of interest to keep the things transparent and clear. Everything that TDF has done till date has been through expression of interest only. And all industries, though our focus is on MSMEs and startups, and if there is a large industry, until unless the AON specifically says that the large industry can participate, the AON is the project would be the first person who can take that would be an MSME or a startup. Only if in the qualifying criteria, none of them is meeting that criteria. We have an evaluation criteria which we give out with all EOIs. If none of the MSME or startup is meeting that criteria, only we have to again go back to the committee and ask them for a waiver to give it to the large industry. So the large industry per se can participate in the projects where the AON has been granted for large and small together. But otherwise, the focus is on MSMEs and startups. So we give an AOI, and after that, we evaluate the AOIs that we receive from the industry. And then, depending on the criticality of the problem, whether it should be going to one industry, there are projects which we have given simultaneously to multiple agencies so that the risk of failure is minimized. There are some technologies where we feel the criticality is too much and we cannot afford a situation where the technology is not developed. In such cases, we go out and give the project even to 2 or 3 industries simultaneously. And government has shown its commitment, or I should say DRDO first has shown its commitment by bringing in its testing facilities open to all the industry partners, as well as giving that expertise. And even our IPR, what is generated by DRDO, is also patents are also available for industry to exploit. Government of India on its part is given the commitment by bringing in any technology which has been successfully developed under TDF as by IGDM category. My friends who are knowing about this by IGDM category will realize that this is the category which is the priority number 1, which is given when you are going and looking out for a. We're also trying to get approval or talking to our user to get an AON for the procurement of the technology which is developed. So generally the TRL levels that TDF is looking at is TRL level from 3 to 7. And in that, we are also allowing the partnership of 2 or more industries, and also partnership with the academia. The academia can also partner with an industry up to 40% of the project cost. That is, if there is some kind of consultancy or some kind of research component is available in that, and we need to bring in so that TDF also allows that up to 40%. So once the technology is developed with the industry as a consortium partner, or with the AOP, or alone by the industry, till TRL 7, the TDF takes it up. And in some particular projects, we are also going ahead and looking at TRL 8 and 9, where TRL 8 and 9, after the 9, TRL 9, the component or the subsystem would be in a position where it can go into the system or the subsystem directly. So there are times that where we are not, there's something which the proof of concept is not very clear. But in the cases where the indigenization or other things are there, we are even taking it to the thing that we are going for a type approval from Similac, so that the same can be adopted in the system. So from our side, the commitment is there. There is no doubt that we are committed to our industry partner to bring in the best that we can. And we are also talking to the Ministry of Defense and also to users to see that if it is successfully developed, how we can go ahead and give them an AON for a particular number of units or quantities. And maybe that could be tested, and once it is found, then the AON can be directly placed with the industry. We also have another, as part of the TDF, we have also tried to bring in some projects which are specific to the startups. Those kind of projects are mostly innovative in nature. Other than the TDF, where we are looking at a specific technology, the ones that we are going ahead and doing with the startups have a little bit of an innovation content, and those are open only for the startup. We're trying to improve the process. We're trying to make it faster for the awarding of the projects. And that is why the projects which are lower value, up to 1 crore, we are saying that we will go in only for a 1-level evaluation. Generally, TDF projects are 2-level evaluation, but we're trying to see if we can reduce it to 1 level of evaluation so that the project award time is reduced. I am not sure how many of you, because most of you are MSMEs, but there is this innovation contest that DRDO holds every year called Dare to Dream. It is already 2 Dare to Dreams have been evaluated. The third one is under evaluation. And under this, any innovator or any startup can participate and give a solution for those. If the solution is found feasible and it has merit, again, there is an application that we can see. The awarded projects are being considered for TDF under TDF for funding. In fact, in Dare to Dream 1 and 2, there were almost 22 projects that we are converting from the innovation, the award winner innovation, to the TDF projects. And we are trying to see that the prototype is realized with the support of technical and financial support of DRDO and the user. So that is another way to get into, and that is a place where if you have some suo moto ideas that could be processed, because there is an evaluation, there is a 2-level evaluation committee which is already in place, and that has all kinds of representation from the user, from finance. So the idea is evaluated on all respects. So once you have that idea has won that, it has been found feasible and having merit, it will be considered under TDF for getting the TDF project. We have till date sanctions 56 projects, 52 have already been signed, and 4 projects are under signing. Perhaps next week we are looking at 2 more projects to be signed, and then maybe following that week we will have all 56 signed. We have committed 254 crores to our development agencies through these 56 projects. And there is no stopping. It is only the beginning, I should say. We have tasted success early in the scheme. Like I said, that 2018 is when we started giving out our projects. We are only 4-year-old, and we already we have 4 technologies indigenized for the first time, which we have given to Indian Navy and Indian Air Force. We are also looking at the user is underway to give AON to procure those technologies. We are maybe by the end of next month, we should be able to do another very innovative projects for Indian Army requirement for high altitude. So with that, we should be able to have the success story, one each for each of our users, main users, tri-services, Indian Navy, Indian Army, and Indian Air Force. And like I said, that we are looking at a plethora of kind of technologies that we can indigenize, or we can maybe the missed technologies which we have never done, or futuristic technologies. We have already processed a case where we are trying to increase the funding from 10 crore, because there have been some projects which we have not been able to take up because of the limitation of the fund. So we have tried to we have already initiated the case after the budget announcement of this year, where government has again shown the commitment by bringing in 25% R&D of defense technologies through the private industry. We have moved a case where we would want to increase this limit from 10 crore onwards. We are, like I said, we are maintaining a website which is tdf.drdo.gov.in. I'll request all of you to register on that website, so that you will get a lot of audio video tutorials on that website. You will also get all the newsletter, monthly newsletter. I'll also request you to follow our Twitter account, because any EOI or any project which is upcoming or which is going to be floated on our website first comes on Twitter. So you will get an idea as to what kind of projects that are being done. We have a query management system, and we take pride in saying that within 24 hours of any query that has been put to us, we try to resolve it. Invest India is partnering with us for our outreach and our query management. There is a call center number that is there. That also can be shared with you. I'm sorry, my PPT is not being shared, but I'll request my colleague Simran to send those details to Mr. Vinod separately on that, so that it can be shared with all the members here. So we are available on the website, we are available through Twitter, and any query that is there. And if it is somehow remain unresolved, I'll request you to get in touch with me. My email ID also, I'll request Simran to maybe put it in the mail and send to Mr. Vinod for giving it to other members. Please get in touch with me. And if there is something, because see, no matter whatever recipe that we try to cook here, the most important ingredient in that recipe is the industry partner or the development agency that we call. I mean, we are here to build collaborations. We are here to build those bonds between the R&D center and the industry center. So the most important person or the most important ingredient is you. So please feel free to come forward and apply for any project where you think that your skill can make the difference and can make the country Atmanirbhar in true sense. If there is anything that we can do at our level, we will definitely try and do it. If there is something that we need to take approval from higher authorities, believe you me, we will put it on file. Even the surety thing, we've already put it on file, and we are trying to take a waiver on that. We are committed to do this in true letter and spirit. If there is something more that is required, your suggestions are most welcome. Your feedback is most welcome. Please feel free to register with us and to come back with the feedback so that we can try and resolve whatever to make this scheme, which is supposed to be unique, holistic, and organic. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insightful talk. I now request the participants, if you have any questions, maybe you can post it in the chat box. Then we have a question from Dr. Susil J. Krishnan. What she has asked is like, how far we are focusing on AI, ML, and data science in the defense and aerospace capability enhancement, and do we have any centers to implement that? She has asked a question. The mic is muted.
Please, can you put the question again? I have not been able to hear it very clearly.
Like, how far are we focusing on AI, ML, and data science in the defense and aerospace capability enhancement? And how many centers we have?
Yeah. So centers, we do not work with centers. We basically work based on the projects. And here is the lab which is working with us for all the AI and ML related projects. We also have a young scientist lab who's working on AI, and they are helping us with the domain expertise in that. That is as far as the centers are required. Uh, I am not having the number exactly, but it is somewhere in 2 digits that we have the projects on AI and ML. In fact, the vision of DRDO or the DRDO leadership is that all major systems that DRDO will be making now or developing now will have the AI component. That is very clearly told to all of us. So keeping in mind that we are taking a lot of projects on AI and ML, again, my request would be to please go through the website and see what are the upcoming projects, what are the projects in feasibility and in UI, and you will find a plethora of that in that on AI and ML.
If I
Thank you,
might
ma'am.
ask the next query. Dr. Nidhi, thank you very much for that very comprehensive address that you had given. And you had also shared a lot of points on how you can, or the TDF will work towards the financing and so on. I wanted to add a couple of points, Dr. Bansal, towards this. Number one is, whenever, of course, we are talking about MSMEs. That's the purpose of this. DRDO as well as the TDF wants to encourage MSMEs. And typically the MSMEs, especially after the COVID bout, are cash strapped. They don't have as much cash. And they definitely need to go after financing from the banks in particular in order to be able to get this. But the current scenario is that banks demand personal guarantees. They demand personal guarantees without which they don't want to give financing. The other thing is that they quote RBI policies saying that you need a 3-year profit history, and if you don't have that, then that's not going. They're not willing to fund. So that is different. Some of these factors are definitely restricting factors in terms of raising this much needed financing for this for these MSMEs, which is something that needs to be thought through. The second factor is that we completely agree with you that if you are giving an advance to the required MSME, the respective MSME, then you definitely demand a bank guarantee to that extent, and I think that is quite reasonable, no doubt about it. that can definitely work in both favors. The third factor is quite often when working with government departments, the money doesn't come within the specified duration. If it has to come within 30 days, they quote various different means to delay payment, and perhaps that's something that TDF can also play a role in watching, so that money gets paid in time and the MSMEs don't suffer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Arun. We are generally, once we admit the bills, if there are some requirements from a CA certificate or some lacuna in that, we point it out to our development agencies. Once the bills are in place, we see to it that generally it doesn't take more than 45 days. And that is what is our commitment, and maybe that is what is the government wants us to do also, especially in the cases of MSME. um, in most of the cases that is happening also. I'm not sure, I will not be able to say 100%, because there could be some delays we are not, which we do not envisage at the part of PCDA, the one whose we are here to forward the bills. Clearing of bills is the part of the CDA. So I do not know if in any case the processing would have taken a little bit more time in that. But generally, we try to see to it that within 45 days of the time that we have forwarded the bill to PCDA, it generally gets paid. That is about the timelines. About the RBI guidelines and the bank, that 3-year thing or something like that, I think the best people who can answer that would be the Ministry of MSME. DAP has given, from defense perspective, I was seeing that DAP has given some guidelines for MSME, and I think I do not think that it is. I mean, I again don't take my word for it, but I do not think that it requires all the 3 years you have to have a positive balance. I think there is some kind of a waiver that is given for MSMEs in DAP. So I'll request your members to go through that and see that from the defense, when you're looking at applying for a MOD tender or an MOD project, then I think that is something that we are following, the guidelines which are given by DAP. For the RBI guidelines, I think it will be the best if MSMEs can take it up with Ministry of MSMEs, and they will be able to. But like I said, they're also part of our committee, and we will raise this point in the next committee meeting with them.
If I might add, Dr. Bansal, we have in fact raised this matter to the Commerce and Industries Minister himself. Siki has maintained a very good connect with the Commerce and Industries Ministry, and we have raised it there. He in turn told us to raise it with the Finance Ministry. We've written we've written there, and we've not seen light at the end of the tunnel. But anyway, we completely understand your
We have
your
put it
assistance.
now, we will raise it in our committees,
Okay.
but like we will not be the one to give a decision on that. We can only raise your concern there.
Sure. Thank you.
But actually, we have one more question. The participant has asked, like, is there any cloud storage available with scientists and researchers under MOD, and will it be accessible to the researchers? There is a question now.
Won't be able to answer this. Maybe I'm not the right person.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other question to be asked? We can go to the next.
William, there is a person by the name of Bimesh who has raised his hand.
Yeah, might be you can unmute and ask your question, Mr. Bimesh.
Yeah, good morning, members and everyone. I have a question to the madam. Madam, actually, we are manufacturers of strategic aviation lubricants and high altitude lubricants, which are used by the Air Force as well as for the Army. And at the moment, currently, they are being imported, or they are being imported from foreign countries. And in the light, like currently in the current situation which we are witnessing, we do not have any projects related to aviation lubricants on the TDF website. So my question was that if we have to get certain products project listed, then what will be the the procedure, because we have approached the end users, even Army as well as Air Force, and even they have guided us that the right pathway for the indigenization to take place for these products will be through the DRDO TDF, because that way it will the development will be showcased to all end user services and the development can be brought to the light.
Very true, Mr. Rathod. I appreciate your question. You can send us the proposal, but like I said, that we will have to go back to the users whom you're saying, and they have to commit that yes, they require it, and once developed, they will be able to take it. Once they give us that kind of a vetting, we should be able to take it up in TDF. There is no doubt in that.
Thank you very much, madam. Madam, like for sending out this proposal, like is there a specific or a specified email where we
No,
can send the proposal?
no, the email remains same. There is a common email, and we put it in different buckets, the kind of queries that we receive. The proposals are all sorted out and sent to the respective users for their comments.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Same email.
Ma'am, there is a participant who has asked a question. Is the TDF available only for the new project, or it can be availed for technology, product improvisation, or product production?
The name suggests that it is technology development, and the funding is given for a development of technology which has not been done in India till date. For whatever, it could be an old technology where the OEM is not supporting, the foreign OEM is not supporting the services. It could be a new technology which is for the future things, but it has to be a development of technology which has not been done. So we are trying to avoid duplicities here. If it is a work which has been done in India, in fact, any of the aerospace requirements that we receive from our users, we first send it to Semilac to see if there is somebody who's already been type tested and given that certificate. And then we kind of direct the user to go and see if that could meet their requirements. So generally the technology development fund, but yes, any process improvisation in the development of technology or any new material that can give it some value addition, that can also be considered under technology development.
Madam, sorry to interrupt. Just in continuation to the same, now as you mentioned that the the proposal usually goes through the Semilac, which is the type approval agency. Now, in that case, madam, in the same pretext, for example, if the type approval is given, because the Semilac type approval is a mandatory requirement for the end users for their procurement. So now, even for that imported product, if the Semilac has given the type approval, and in that case, if an Indian company wants to indigenize the same product, so in that case, the TDF route is open.
Yeah, TDF route is open as long as no Indian industry has been given the type certificate. I was not talking about foreign industries getting the type certificate from Semilac, Mr. Rathod. It has to be an Indian company. I hope that is what your question was.
Yes, madam. Actually, madam, in certain cases, what happens, there are like a company which has a joint ownership. For example, a 51-49% stake, where that company, so it has a 51% ownership as Indian, and then the company still imports the material, the strategic important material, which is not being indigenously manufactured and has the type approval.
So the technology has to be indigenized and the company has to be at least 51% Indian ownership, resident Indian ownership. Both the things should be there.
Right, madam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Thank you for.
William, please go ahead.
Yeah.
This is Bhimesh from Genius Filters and Systems Private Limited. We are indigenization experts of filtration products. We had indigenized successfully for Indian Navy and DRDOs, like DARE in Bangalore. We had indigenized cooled filtration systems for MiG-21 and 29s, and various oil filtration systems for warships and submarines. We wanted to know these indigenized products, will they be updated in DRDO also? I mean, during the process of indigenization or development, will they update these records in DRDO so that it is not indigenized once again? My second question is, we are interested to take up certain TOTs with DRDOs like DRD Gwalior for indigenization of various filtration products. Will TDF department will support TOT fees?
There is a separate directorate for TOT, Mr. Bhimesh, and no, TDF does not go ahead and give you the TOT fee. You will have to talk to this directorate called I2TM, IITM, which is Industry Interface for Technology Management, and they will be telling you the procedure for doing the TOT. The indigenization, yes, any project, like I said again, any project that we take up generally goes through a feasibility cycle. And in that feasibility cycle, we invite anybody who has any information or any interest in that technology. And if there is a input as if it has already been developed in India, we will put the user directly in touch with that industry and we will not be able to take up that development.
Like, is there any link on website so that we can upload this indigenized data?
No, there is no link. It is only project specific. So if you see there is any project been floated where it is all you've already indigenized, please give your inputs there. Because there is so much of technologies being developed that it will be difficult to keep a database like that. At least we have not done it till date.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking time to answer
Thank
the
you, ma'am.
questions. I now request Mr. Channabasappa Sirkoli, Business Head, Aerospace, LMW Limited, to deliver the closing remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. William. I would like to thank all the organizations like SICI and IDAT as well in organizing the spectacular event, the self-reliance in the aerospace and defense sector. This was much needed, and I believe most of the MSMEs, including the large sector and medium sector as well, have been benefited from this webinar. A lot of inputs have been given by Mr. Arun, Dr. Mileswamy sir. Really thanks for your great inputs. I'll just want to highlight Mr. Arun's inputs as well, where he has mentioned already 38 problems statements have been already issued, and that has been taken for indigenization and solution. The cutting edge technology was main highlighted by you, and definitely yes, that is the main factor where Indian industry do focused. Also, you have suggested from SICI point of view how it should be attractive from the domestic market and MSMEs as well. Useful of friendly with MSMEs, and also on the policies which you highlighted, which will benefit in the long term for the MSMEs, and also the self-reliance, enabling self-reliance for the job growth was a main core suggestion as well. I think I also congratulate you highlighted completing 111 years of SICI. That means a lot. That shows a lot of hard work efforts which you've been contributed, and it's really wonderful to know the contribution to the industries. Thank you very much for your briefing and highlighting and getting suggestion from TDF as well. I also move on to thank Dr. Mileswamy sir. You highlighted right from the started from Mr. Arun has initiated, and you've taken the flow, how it is to be benefited, what the offset requirements are there, and how the mismatch between the current need was highlighted as well, including the promotion of MSME and the policies which government is already working on. You also highlighted how the domestic industries have been taken growth from the certain period of an area and how it can be improved further as well. The defense corridor, as you mentioned, is definitely a highlighted point, as Tamil Nadu is already in the defense corridor, and that will be have to get benefited. And this webinar will definitely help us in getting the MSMEs more portion of the defense business activities. Also, you highlighted how the incentives of the offsets multiplier has been applicable for this defense corridor, and that will be definitely Tamil Nadu government along with the AIDAT and SICI will ensure that the major portion of the defense projects being towards the Tamil Nadu regions. I also highlight that you also assured the infrastructure development as well and development activities to support on the MSMEs. That will be more exciting to see the progress. As you also mentioned that road ahead is a long and it's a long journey. And all the MSMEs knows that today the webinar, whatever Ms. Smita, Needu Madam also explained, it's a starting of the journey, and it will certainly take a long time to convert it as well. We are also focusing, as you highlighted, I want to just emphasize the last year budget was around 4.78 lakh crores, and this year is around 5.25 lakh crores. So it shows the commit from government to ensure that they will be increasing the budget, increasing the indigenization of products. So we need to ensure that MSMEs, yes, definitely the portion of the 25% what Nidhi Madam also mentioned is been allocated for R&D as well. So major chunk of the projects will be coming to MSMEs and the startups as well. Along with this, I will also highlight that there is a 36,500 crores target of export is already mentioned from our Rajnath Singh minister. And that would be our goal to ensure that all the indigenization have been put up a target like this year. Definitely we need to outsource, and this will be benefit for our MSMEs. I'll also like to thank you, Nidhi ma'am, to highlighting all the major 4 projects which you initiated in 2016 as well and 2018, which we initiated, and also the execution of support from DSU, ADE, PSU companies, and also the business viability, how you select and what is the criteria of selecting the projects. That was the main criteria we as an MSME and the large companies has to understand the project being identified. There is a selecting committee as well, and that how it has to put through for the commissionization as well. The highlight point was also there. You highlighted the project mentoring, monitoring, and grooming. That was we as a team or MSME has to understand the process, how you're hand holding the team. The platform is already created. The projects has been defined. Select the projects, go for TDF. So end-to-end solution ecosystem you have created. Additionally, you are highlighting what are the money spent. You have all the expertise as well. You have the testing facilities as well, and the qualification team inputs as well is there. That was the well-known, and I believe MS is taken in a very positive route for all the attendees, so that it is very clear the process, you have expertise, and you have team to solutionize as well. And also you mentioned to increase the funding from 10 crore to additional to accommodate certain funding which are not capable to have it today. So the MSME startups EOI which will be released are certain criteria to meet. So we will be, I will also request the MSME teams to visit the website to understand more on what kind of projects they we need to identify and which we can propose to TDF as well. So with this, I will also like to thank you for all the speakers, and I'll also like to thank you for IDAT and SICI for organizing this program. This is at the last comment, all the delegates and members who have been attended today, and I believe most of them have taken the next process of actions, and we will continue in discussion with TDF team as well to ensure that whatever we discuss today, it benefits in the long term. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As many of you have asked for the video, you can actually find the video in our website, sicci.in, and we can also share the link of the YouTube link can be shared to your registered mail IDs. And the questions, if you feel it is not answered, we can get back to you through mail. We can communicate to you for the unanswered question. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for participating.
Thank you very much.